if you can see it. Okay, so this is your breadboard. If you see, this is your germanium diode and this is your silicon. This is your germanium diode and this is your silicon. Actually, we cannot draw the circuit physically. Actually, only we can draw physically. So I don't know how I will show you that how we can draw the physically circuit. Okay, but I think I have a one thing I forget that I think that is more useful for you. In the last class, I have told that students that is your there is a one software that is called a breadboard sim. Okay. 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 Yes. Okay. So you can see this is your virtually breadboard, right? If this is your virtually breadboard and we have to draw this circuit, and we have a something here. It means first we need a one diode. So if I go in diode and normally this is my diode, this is diode number is written. I can put my diode in any hole like this. Okay. So which kind of diode I am using? Can anybody tell me? If you can recognize this.
Ma'am, silicon.
Yes. So this is silicon diode, right? That's why. So this is silicon diode. Now we know in our breadboard, if you remember, in breadboard, these holes, right, middle holes, how they are connected? Okay. If you don't remember, vertically connected, but I'm just going to remind you this thing so that you just remember these things, because it is we try our best to understand this. So let's go, and I'm just reminding you some students if you don't remember, right? If you see this word breadboard, if you remember, and if you see the back of this, right, all the holes which are in middle, they are vertically connected, this kind of things, and all the holes which are here, they are horizontally connected. So it means we already have this information. These are in the lines, they are connected, but if we draw, means these are in this line as connected, but if we draw like this, it means they are connected in a different holes, right? And these two are not connected. It means our diode is not short here. So we have a one diode also. Now with the diode, if we draw our circuit, this is our diode. With the diode two terminal, I have to apply a voltmeter, right? And this is our battery terminal and this is our resistor. So I am just going to put a resistance also in series with that. For that, I can go, there's a lot of value, I'm just taking some random value. This is my resistor. So this is your carbon resistor. So normally the way I am putting virtually, physically we also put like that. We have a two holes, we can just put pin on two holes. So this is your diode, this is your silicon. So if I have to draw my circuit, it means go connect. The one terminal of this resistance should be connected to the positive of a battery, right? It means if we have some battery, then one terminal should be connected to that battery terminal, right? So I think we cannot draw more. If you're interested, you can just download that breadboard simulator and you will, there are a lot of things. I didn't go much in that because I think this is just how we can put these things. This is your silicon diode and this is now your germanium diode. So if we go in your breadboard, if you see, right? If you go in, normally this is your setup. If I will draw this thing, this is your setup, if you can see it. This is your power supply, DC regulated power supply. This is your voltmeter. This is your basically both are multimeter, and one black, one red, one black, one red. This is positive and negative terminal. So accordingly, we have a different pins. We are going to connect. Basically, we are going to draw this circuit. We are going to draw this circuit that we have drawn here, simple circuit. So when we draw this circuit, then we have some power supply. Then we increase the power supply by using if you see this, suppose we have drawn the circuit diagram, then what we have to do it? Then we have to increase forward voltage. First, we have to make sure that we have a zero voltage across the diode. It means our voltmeter should have a zero reading initially. It means our voltmeter ammeter must have a zero reading. If that is so, then we have to apply a forward bias in step of 0.1, means 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and then we have to note corresponding I. Similarly, we have to perform the same thing for your germanium and silicon diode. So when you have a data of this, your V and I, and then you have to plot that data in a single graph paper. And from that graph, you have to find the value of cut-in voltage, and you have to calculate the forward static resistance at forward voltage of 15 milliampere, and you have to calculate the forward dynamic resistance at forward current of 50 milliampere. It means when you have a circuit, you have a data and you have drawn this characteristic. This is silicon or germanium. So it means you will get this kind of characteristic. So we already know the forward characteristic of a PN junction diode, right? So this is your I. So now you have so how you can, if you get that kind of plot, how you can get a cut-in voltage, right? So when you have this kind of plot and graph, if you draw a tangent, something like that, across the point where it is just moving forward. This is not a very correct actually. Just okay. I will show you some experimental data. Okay, so if you see, this is your experimental data. Some students have plotted between I and V. So you can see this plot is your for germanium diode, and this plot is for your silicon diode. So you have a two plot for different diode. So now you have a two diode, so you can draw your tangent. So if I have to draw the tangent for a silicon diode, I am going to draw my tangent something like that. Right? So this is my tangent. And this should come as a 0.7. This should come as a 0.7. So if you see here, in this students, it is coming around 0.6 something. And this happens because your diode is old normally, right? Diode is old, and so that's why normally what standard cut-in voltage 0.7 you have, you normally get a very close value, not exact value, because your diode is old, and there is also with the temperature dependence, because as time goes, they will lose their temperature dependence. Okay, so this is for a silicon. Suppose the same thing you have to draw for a germanium, then you can also draw like this is your tangent, and you just okay. So here you can see your normally germanium have a cut-in voltage of 0.3 volt. Here is also coming a less than 0.3 volt, right? Less than 2.2 or something coming. So you can see normally standard cut-in voltage we have a 0.7, 0.3, but what cut-in voltage we are getting, that is somehow lesser than your standard procedure. So this happens because your diode is old, basically. So this is how you can determine the forward bias characteristic of your cut-in voltage. Now, if you have to you have to determine your forward static resistance. And we already know it is Vf equal to If. And they have already written that If value should be 15 milliampere. It means in your plot, if you go and check that where you are getting a 50 milliampere value, right? So if you see, if I check this plot, I don't know you can see the value on the x-axis or not, but if you can see, this is your 50 milliampere, 50 ampere value, right? Just a minute. Yes. So if you see, this is your 15 milliampere value. Now, if this is 50 milliampere value, what is the voltage? And for both diode, you can determine, right? For your silicon germanium. When your I is 15, what is the value of your voltage here? And what is the value of your voltage here? You can determine for both, right? So if you determine the both value, then you can determine your, you determine your forward static resistance for both germanium and silicon diode. Now, how to determine the forward dynamic resistance at IF equal to 15 milliampere? So IF equal to 15 milliampere, it means how to determine the static resistance? Simply, I will go and see. Suppose this is your IV characteristic and this is your 15 milliampere, right? And with respect to 15 milliampere, you already know one voltage value. Suppose this voltage value is coming as a 1.5 volt, 1.2 volt, suppose, right? So what is your static resistance? Your static resistance should be 1.2 by 15 milliampere, right? So this is your static resistance. So what is your dynamic resistance in case of AC? Your dynamic resistance is always be between 2 points. So your first point you already know because they have already given, you have to determine it 15 milliampere. What should be your second point? Second point should be your cut-in voltage. Second point should be your cut-in voltage. It means if it is my silicon and my cut-in voltage is around coming my 0.6 and I know the value around that, right? It will come very small, I think 0.5 milliampere, whatever number is coming. So now you know two values, right? Difference 1.2 volt minus 0.7. And you can also differentiate it 15 minus 0.5. So with the help of that, you can determine your AC resistance. So this is true value. Even if you're not taking a cut-in voltage, you can take any other point between there. You can also that determine that should be your AC resistance. Because isn't a silicon and germanium, they are not linear device, right? So their AC resistance vary with your device characteristic. It is not a constant. So this is how you can determine your static resistance, AC resistance, meaning dynamic resistance, and your cut-in voltage. Okay. So this is the main objective. You have to, sorry, again I will go for GNet diode. This is the main objective you have to determine from your forward bias characteristic. So now what is, you have to go for your reverse bias. In the reverse bias, again, it means you have to change your battery terminal, right? You have to pass positive to negative. It means in a reverse bias, your circuit will remain the same. Your battery terminal is going to be opposite. Means if I have to draw the same circuit for a reverse bias, everything will be same. My circuit will be like that. So this is the circuit in a reverse bias, the same circuit. Now what happened in reverse bias? There is no majority flow, right? Only minority will flow. It means we have a very small current in a reverse bias condition, and that current exists because of the minority carriers. So again, what we have to do, again we have to trace the circuit and breadboard. Basically, we have to change the battery terminal. Our circuit is already on the breadboard. And again, we have to make sure that across the voltmeter, we have a 0 It means there is no current flowing in the circuit. Then in the reverse bias, we have to increase step in the step of 5 volt up to 30 volt. And then we have to note the IR means reverse current. Why we are going up to this long voltage, 30 volt? Because we want to make sure that our diode doesn't break down in a reverse bias correction. And we already know that it is going to be very small current, right? So that's why we are taking a so long step for a 5 volt and 30 volt. Then we have to determine a IV characteristic in a reverse bias condition. Again, the same thing they have written. Calculate the reverse static resistance at 2 microampere and AC dynamic resistance. It means, again, if this is my forward bias characteristic and in reverse bias characteristic should be something like that. Okay, I'm again going to plot here, that is better. Now I'm plotting only reverse bias. It means your reverse bias characteristic something like that. This is your reverse bias characteristic, and if this is your 30 volt, minus 30 volt, right? So if you see what they have written is, calculate the reverse static resistance and IR equal to 2 microampere. IR equal to 2 microampere. It means if this is my IR equal to 2 microampere. So normally this plot is something like that. I will exactly try to draw it something like that. Little bit like slope. Suppose this is your IR 2 microampere. You already know this value, right? Then you already know the voltage value, right? So with the help of your voltage and this, you can determine your R. And R means static. And if you want to determine R dynamic, it means you have to take 2 value, right? So you can take another voltage here, and with the help of 2, you can determine your static and AC resistance. Okay, so now let me know this question to all of you. In which direction, forward bias, in which bias condition, forward bias or reverse bias, your resistance will be high? In which bias condition, your resistance will be high? In a forward bias or a reverse bias?
Reverse bias.
Okay. So I'm again asking to someone. Ayush Tamang.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is your IV plot, Ayush. So now let me know what you understand, in which direction your resistance should be high and why you understand this thing.
I'm in reverse bias.
But why? Why you think so?
Due to built-in voltage.
Ma'am, from IV plot, it's forward bias because it has a higher slope.
Okay, no, first I'm asking us, Ayush, you are saying it is in reverse bias. So maybe you are correct, right? But
Yes.
give me the reason why the resistance is high here and why the resistance is low in a forward bias.
Due to built-in potential, ma'am.
No, built-in potential is where is coming here. Okay, it's simple. Don't go in any theory, just see. In your forward bias, what is the order of current? Milliampere, right? Because we talk about 15 milliampere. And what is the order of current in your reverse bias? It is in
Microamperes.
microampere. So current is more here. If current is more, it means your resistance is, Ayush, low or high?
Low.
Low, right? Because your current is more. But if you here see, your current is order of very small, it means your resistance is high. So this is simple thing. So when you calculate your static and AC resistance and you compare those value for both forward and reverse bias, then you come to the same conclusion. So when we have your theory classes, we have already read these things like theoretical way. But when you have your data and you plot and you will calculate, then you actually realize what we learned. Okay. So normally when you do experiment, right, then we also have an interaction session. Means there is a lot of questions that how we can perform it and how we can measure it, means what is a fundamental. We also discuss these things. Okay, so actually virtually we will do as best as possible. Okay, so now we know that this is a forward bias and reverse bias, right? And how to calculate the data. So now I'm going to show you the plot, the video of that experiment. And then we will have some discussion. Okay, so just I'm going to. Okay. So I'm going to on it. Let me know when if you have any issue. Okay.
VI characteristics of PN junction diode for forward bias function.
Ma'am, can you go full screen?
Now
Yes,
you
yes.
see
It can go full screen.
of PN junction diode for forward bias function. Now you see practically the circuit has been constructed like this from the source at this point, and from there is a resistance, series resistance in the order of 100 ohms. From 100 ohms, the one red wire is connected to the positive terminal of a milliammeter. From the negative terminal of the milliammeter, the wire reaches here at the anode of the PN junction diode. Now this diode is your germanium diode. Okay. Now across the germanium diode, we just observe the voltage across by this multimeter, and from the cathode of the diode, the yellow wire reaches to the negative terminal of the power supply. The circuit has been constructed like this. This is forward bias PN junction diode. And the number of the diode is OS79 for germanium diode. Now, I want to show you, if I increase the voltage in the order of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, how much current is coming out at this meter? This meter is used to measure current. This meter is used to measure voltage. Now, whenever more or less 0.1 102 voltage is given. So current how much? 0.01 milliampere. Now if I increase to more or less 0.2 volt, it is 0.199, that means 0.2 volt. The current reaches to 0.09 milliampere. Now, if I again increase to 0.3 volt, the current reaches to 0.37 milliampere. If I further increase, it is to 0.4 volt, the current is 0.78 milliampere. If I again further increase, it is 0.5. You see the appreciable amount of current passing through the diode. And probably you find out the knee voltage of that specific diode. And if I further increase the current, the current also increased to more or less 2 milliampere or 0.62 volt. Now you can plot like this. This is 0, and whenever at the junction of in about 0.4 to 0.5, appreciable of current increases, and in this way the current reaches to high. Whenever you increase the voltage to 1 volt, 2 volt, like that, current also increases. In this way, forward bias developed through this germanium diode. Okay. The diode is to be constructed as reverse bias, or the diode is used as reverse bias, just opposite direction. Previously, it was the cathode side, and this was the anode side. Now we just altered. That means at the incoming side is your cathode side. This is the anode side. Now you just connect here. Now what happens there? You see, whenever the voltage about 4.5 volts, there is no current flows, and there is a current flows in the order of microampere, about 3.7 microampere. And if you again it is increases to 16 volt, the current you see only 5.2 microampere appears. And if you just increase it to the maximum of this supply voltage, 33.8, the current is very feeble, that is 7.5 microampere. In this way, reverse bias reading will be developed.
Okay, so all you have seen this video, right? So do you have any question? Okay, so one thing you understand that once a circuit is drawn on a breadboard, then it is so easy to change the reverse bias, or if I have to suppose this is the IV characteristic of a germanium diode. So now if I want to measure a silicon diode, so then I have to not disturb the circuit. In a breadboard, I have to just pull out the germanium and I have to just pull it silicon diode. Or I have to forward bias, I have to just change the polarity. So like this is the benefit of your circuit. Once your circuit is drawn, then you can measure any IV characteristic of any kind of diode. Even the same circuit used, if in the place of silicon and germanium, you can put a Zener diode in a reverse bias condition, right? And you can measure the IV characteristic of a Zener diode. So this is the one of the benefit of your breadboard, right? So we can draw any circuit, and if you want to remove any component, then there is no need to disturb the whole circuit. Okay, so I think this is how to measure the IV characteristic, right? So let me know if you have any question. Otherwise, we will move to the another set of experiment. Do you understand how they have measured the IV and current, right? Okay, I hope it is clear to everyone.
Hello,
And
ma'am.
yes,
Hello, ma'am.
yes,
Ma'am,
yes, Suraj.
I understand the last part.
Okay, which last part?
When the diode is enter into the board, and what happened? Some video was paused on this time during the network connections. I can't understand only.
So when diode enter in a reverse bias, right? Then
Yes,
you
yes,
saw there is no current, right?
yes.
Because in a multimeter, if you see, if I show you the multimeter, just a minute. I don't know the multimeter. In a multimeter, we have a okay. In a multimeter, we have a different, like if I want to show a milliorder ampere current, then we have a knob of milliampere. So that time the milliampere knob was on. So when in a reverse bias, there is no current showing because the current was the order of milliampere. Then we cannot see it. But when we moved the knob to microampere, then in a reverse bias, we are able to see some current. Maybe I will just show you the thing. Just a minute. Okay, so this is your basically experiment,
Good side
and
and good side, where the voltage and there is
yes.
the current flows.
So if you see, this is your multimeter, right? In a multimeter, there is a different order of written is 10 ampere, milliampere, microampere, right? It means if your current is coming in on the order of ampere, then you should put your knob in this range. If it is coming in milliampere, then you should put your knob in milliampere range. So in a forward bias, our current is coming in a milliampere range. That's why our knob is set at the milliampere. But when change, we have to reverse bias. Then the current is coming in a microampere range because that time current is a very small. To measure that current, we have to change our knob to this microampere range. Then we can able to see our current, which is a very small, which is order of a microampere. I hope this is your question, or you have some other question.
No, ma'am. This is the question.
Okay, so any other question?
No, ma'am.
Okay, good. So I am stopping this and okay, so this is about your silicon and germanium diode, right? So now I am going to your germanium diode because we have to measure the IV characteristic of your germanium diode also. So for germanium diode, you also have your what is your objective? To become familiar with the breakdown characteristic of a Zener diode and to measure the Zener breakdown voltage. Again, you have to do the same thing. Trace the circuit diagram first of the experimental setup. List the measuring instrument and their specifications. Adjust the reverse DC voltage across the Zener diode at 0 volt. Means you have to make sure that the initial is 0 volt. Observe the diode current. Reverse means in a reverse bias. Now you have to increase. When you initially increase the diode voltage, you will get a very small current, right? And then you have to increase in a very small step to note that when your diode will break down. And when your diode will break down, you get infinite, like a huge flow of current. Initially, it was very slow change, but when you reach a Zener breakdown voltage, then you will get huge flow of current. Then you have to note the breakdown voltage of the Zener diode. It means in normally we experiment get two Zener diode of two different Zener voltage, right? You already know information that you have a two Zener diode, and this Zener diode have a Zener voltage of 6 volt and one Zener diode have a breakdown voltage of 12 volt. Accordingly, you can see that around 6 volt the Zener breakdown happen. Then on that voltage you have to increase very slowly so that exact reading you can measure. Then you have to plot your VZID characteristic on a graph paper, and then you have to measure your static resistance and your dynamic resistance at IZ of 10 milliampere. So this is your objective. I will share these both with you so that you can write down these things and you can see. So when you have this thing, then you get that kind of characteristic. If you see, this is your breakdown characteristic. This is in reverse bias, and this is for a one diode which have a breakdown voltage of a 6 volt, and this is for another diode which have a breakdown voltage of a 12 volt. Right. So now if you have this characteristic, they have already given that at 10 milliampere you have to determine your RDC and RAC. So now you already know how to determine your RAC and RDC, right? So from this characteristic, you also can determine the RAC and RDC value. The circuit for a Zener diode is similar circuit, but in place of your in place of your silicon diode, now I am going to put my Zener diode. It means symbol of my Zener diode is this. Okay, so now this is the circuit of my Zener diode. This is circuit of my Zener diode, and it is collected in a reverse bias. Now you can see this is negative supply connected to the cathode of this, and this is a positive supply connected to the positive. So now we know that our Zener diode connected in the reverse bias direction. Now from power supply we will give the voltage, and across the Zener diode we will measure the voltage and the current. So this is our objective. Based on our objective, we have some plot, some graph, some data. What is our data? If you see, our data should be VI, right? VI, the value is coming. We have to note down these value, right? Suppose 0 at 0, 0.5 volt, some current is coming. This should be in volt, and it is in reverse bias. It should be in a micro ampere, right? So you will get some value, and based on that value you can plot that data. So now I will show you the video of that. Similar experimental setup is here. In a breadboard, now you have a Zener diode. Let's have a look at it.
All VI characteristics of the Zener diode.
So it is audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Zener diode is used by reverse bias. That's why you see this end is your black end, and this corresponds to the cathode of the Zener diode, other end, which is connected to the negative supply of the power supply, that is your anode of the Zener diode. Now, by means of this meter, you could measure the voltage, and by this you can measure the current. Now, very important point appears when and how the Zener breaks down. That means here Zener's breakdown voltage whenever it will appear. That is the very, very important question. Now, I just increase the voltage across Zener. .6 volt. You see, there is a very small amount of current in the order of microampere, 0.2 microampere. Okay. Now, whenever we just increase to 2.6 volt, current flows 0.3 microampere. Whenever you just increase 3.5 volt, current appears more or less 0.5 microampere. If we again further increase to 5.5 volt or 5.48 volt, 0.8 microampere flows. Now if we again increase it 6.8 to, the current is just 0.9 microampere or 1 microampere. If I increase further to 7.33, the current also appears 1 microampere. Now I am increasing it very cautiously and very slowly, like this. You see, at about 8.5 volt, the current appears at 0.68 milliampere. If we further increase, the current is appreciably increases. That means within 8.5 to 8.6, the Zener breaks its junction. That means large current flows, and if we further increase, you see the voltage more or less constant. Voltage is more or less constant, but the current is increasing. That means whenever Zener breakdown voltage appears, the output voltage remains constant and the current increasing. It is used as voltage stabilization or regulation purpose. Here is another Zener. You see, I am increasing voltage, new amount of current goes to the Zener, that is Zener breakdown does not appear. If we increase further, one time will come to see at about 6.19, suddenly current increases. That is breakdown appears. That means one Zener is specified for 8.5 or 8.6 like that. that is its breakdown voltage, and another zener appears for 6.19. It is its breakdown voltage. In this way, we could measure the zener VI characteristics of the zener.
Okay. So anybody have any question regarding that experiment that you saw just? If you don't understand any point,
Ma'am,
yes.
ma'am, after the breakdown voltage, the current increases, but the
Yes.
display it decreases also. The numbers keep on decreasing.
Which number? Your current number?
Current, yes, ma'am. When the current increases, then suddenly it decreases. The value is constantly decreasing.
No, it is increasing.
Ma'am, increased
See.
at a point it is increasing, but when the voltage is kept constant, it starts decreasing.
Okay, but this is your observation, but let's see again. What is the observation? I am just going in the last.
That is zener.
This
Yes,
is the
ma'am.
Zener diode which have the last which have around 6.6. So now you see this is a 5 volt, right? And in the voltmeter is also coming 5 volt. If you see, this is a milliampere of order. At a 5 volt, we have in a milliampere order, we have a 0 milliampere current. It means we have some current which is order of microampere, but in a milliampere, we don't have any current. Okay. So now if we increase the further voltage, what happens?
Breakdown does not appear. If we increase further, one time will come.
Ma'am, 1.73, then it goes on decreasing.
So now it is coming around your 1.57, right? Milliampere.
But ma'am, it
Okay.
stopped at 1.73.
6.19, suddenly current increases. That is,
So-
breakdown appears. That means one zener is specified for 8.5 or 8.6 like that. That is its breakdown voltage, and another zener appears for 6.19. It is its breakdown voltage. In this way, we could measure the zener.
Okay. Now I will tell you what it is saying. It is saying, see, this is your reverse bias characteristic, and suppose I have a Zener voltage which have a Zener around 6 point, right? It means if I am talking about initially, nothing will happen, right? At some point, Zener diode breakdowns. So at which the breakdown happens, we get some kind of this kind of current, little bit slow. It means if this is your 1.57 milliampere, suppose around this you will get some value, little broad. After that, it will always be a straight line, and it is a constant number, right? It means little bit increase you get. After that, you will get a constant number. So this is what is happening here. Actually, if you see this data, initially it was 1.7 milliampere, then it went to 1.54 milliampere, right? If I remember, and then suddenly it decreased, and then number is coming as a 1.34, right? So this is like a little bit increase in current. So I think this is just a fluctuation, because this shouldn't happen actually. Normally, when the Zener breakdown happen, you will get a constant current. This shouldn't go in a backward the way it is going. I'm just again seeing that things.
At about 6.19, suddenly current increases.
See, 6.19 is a breakdown voltage. Your current is order of 1.41. Okay, but on the same voltage,
Breakdown appears.
right?
That means one zener is specified for 8.5 or 8.6 like that.
Okay. So normally it should have a 1.41. Means when the GNR happen, it should have a 4.1. It shouldn't go for a 1.34. But I think this is only because these diodes are not very new. If you have a like ideal circuit in ideal condition, you should get a Zener diode and you should get a constant current. It means if your Zener breakdown happen at 1.41 milliampere, then it should be almost constant. It may be 1.42 or 43, but it shouldn't like vary so much. But here variation is little bit high. This is because our like diode is old. This is the only thing. So normally when Zener breakdown happens, you will get a almost little bit variation current, almost constant. Okay, but this is a very good observation, I will say. Okay, so anybody have another observation?
Ma'am,
Any
while
others?
taking the reading,
Yes.
ma'am, while taking the reading, it should be the maximum value.
Maximum value of what?
Current, ma'am, the highest current displayed at that instant should be the
Yes,
reading.
yes. Suppose you can now see it when 6.19, right? If you see in voltmeter, your voltmeter displaying is 6.19. So even from your power supply, your voltage is 6.3. But if you see here in your voltmeter, it is 6.19. It means at this voltage 6.19, your Zener's breakdowns is even if from your power supply you will increase your number, this voltage here will remain constant and your current will almost remains constant. At some number it will get saturate, like some number just like this number, or because this is basically a saturate number, right? So you have to note down in that time, you have to change your value by this fine, and you have to with a very small duration how your current is changing. You have to see it. So what I'm saying it that suppose at 6.15 you have a current of a 1.5 microampere. So you have to go again for this number 1.6, 6.17, 6.18 and 6.19. Means at the close value of Zener breakdown, you have to note down your all value. And you will see after that at some number after that, you will get a same current. Maybe from here to here, you will get little bit variation, maybe increase or maybe you increase almost you will get, or maybe little bit saturation happen, or maybe this situation happen. This is going to be 5.4, then it is going to be 5.2, this is going to be 5.0 or something. This happen 4.8, and after that even you increase any voltage, you will get the same current. So this is how you have to note down your characteristic when you are very close to this number. And the data I will provide to you, you will see in that data that the same kind of characteristic is noted down by the students. Okay, I hope I have answered your questions. Any other observation? Okay, so any other question from any student? Anything you want to understand, like how we can do it, or I think we can go and repeat and we can check it. I think now internet is gone. We can go and we can cross check again our videos. Okay. Meanwhile, I will also share these video with you, right? So you can also again play this video and you can watch carefully. And you have any observation, so please discuss in the lab, right? Because as I did this experiment many times, so maybe I am not able to catch that minute observation that you can catch it. Okay. Okay. So if you don't have any question, then I'm stopping this video. Okay. Now I will share with you, I will show you your data file, how you can write these things. a minute. Okay, so you can able to see my window, I think. So this is how you can write your experiment. What is your experiment name? What is objective that is already written in the manual? And what is the working formula, right? So you already know these, what is the basic current voltage relationship between a PN junction diode, as we discussed in our theory classes, and what happened in forward bias, right? And what happened in the reverse bias, right? Because in reverse bias, this exponential kV by kV, QV by kVt is very, very small. So almost our reverse saturation current, our reverse current is equal to your reverse saturation current. And you already know that what is the formula for forward static resistance and dynamic resistance. Basically the same formula is there. In a case of reverse, we are going to use a reverse voltage, and in case of forward, we are going to use a forward voltage. Then you have to plot your circuit diagrams, that this is your forward direction, this is your in reverse direction, what operators required. Then you have to note down your experimental data, what you measured in your forward bias, in reverse bias, for both silicon and germanium. Then you have to plot your IV characteristic here. And based on that observation, this is your reverse bias characteristic normally. And you already know that at which voltage you have to determine at 2 microampere, right? So you already know these numbers. So you can calculate your forward bias and reverse bias. Then in a conclusion, you can conclude that what forward resistance, what cut-in voltage you can get. And there is also one section here you can include, that is your observation. Means during any experiment, if you have some observation that you think you should include in your experiment, then you should put here one observation section, and you can put your comments on that. That during the experiment, you observe these things. Okay, so this is how we can write your IV characteristic. So now let me know if you have any questions regarding this file. So this is your PN junction diode. If I go for your GINA diode file, right? Your GINA diode also, IV characteristic, what is objective, you have to write down theory and what is your circuit diagram here. Operators required, working formula again experimental data here. You have to put here. See, this is, if you see, this is the actual data some student have measured. If you see here, that this is the GINA diode, which have a cutting GINA voltage of 12 volt. So you see, around 11.9, this have a 2.150 current. And before that, it have a very small current. At 12, it is a 2.7 volt. Again, the same voltage, and you are getting increase in current, right? So normally in experiment, what is shown here, there is like a reverse backing, right, of current. That doesn't happen actually, but maybe that diode is very used. That's why that observation is coming. But normally, when the diode break down, you get increase in current almost. So you can get your forward and reverse bias. So this is your experimental observation. You can see it. Based on that, you can conclude what is your reverse bias breakdown for a voltage for your two diodes. Okay, so I will share with you all the data and all the videos with you so that you can complete this experiment. You can watch this video in your home, and if you have any confusion regarding, we can discuss in our next class. Okay, so let me know if anybody have any question regarding today's experiment. So this lab is open to everyone. It means anybody don't understand anything, they can ask a question. if not a question, if any other how to write and everything, anything, it is open to everyone. But I don't think you don't have any question, right? Okay, so now I'm audible to everyone. Please let me know. That is important thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it is important because sometimes I have a sense that I'm not talking to anyone. Okay, good. So today we finish our second experiment, and I will share with you all the data and your videos with you. So please see in your home and let me know in the next class if you have any question. If you don't have a question now, let me have a discussion on your next experimental class. Okay. So thank you everyone. So I am leaving the meeting.